What is up, everybody? This is my 2000 Honda CR-V, and in today's video we are going to be talking about 5 tips to keep your box reliable. Before we start talking about the CR-V, update on the E30, we will be working on it a tiny bit in today's video, and we are also going to be going over the things to get it running and the things to get it driving. I was also able to go and get a drive shaft to fit the ZF transmission. And I did mock up the drive shaft and it does fit, so we will be installing that in the following video and getting the drive shaft all set up. But like I mentioned, we are going to be talking about the CR-V today and how to keep your box reliable. You guys can see that it's rusting out in the rear quarter panel, common Honda thing, and also throughout this door. So if you open up the door on the inside, it's completely rusted out. But this thing is the most reliable car I've ever owned. And that's going to bring us into tip number 1, and that's going to be buying an actual reliable car and buying from a reliable manufacturer, right? Hondas and Toyotas, they're known for their reliability. BMWs, Audis, they're not known for it. So you have to start with good bones for a reliable, daily, cheap commuter. When I was looking for my cheap daily, I came across the Honda CR-V, and there was tons of options on Facebook Marketplace, and some of the cars actually had 300,000 miles on them. So you know that they can reach that potential if you take care of them and if you actually put in the time and energy to maintain these cars. So if you see multiple cars with 300,000 miles, that means that they can reach 300,000 miles, which is obviously a good thing. You can also look up the actual reliability of each model. Obviously, knowing Honda and Toyota, they make very reliable cars. Something like Audi, Jaguar, the luxury brands, they're not going to make good, reliable cars. They make luxury cars, which means that they're not suitable for, say, daily use without a lot of maintenance. If you look at the actual list of car brands and what it takes to maintain them in a 5 to 10 year period, BMW is at the top of the list. Mercedes is up there, all the car luxury brands. And down in the middle to late part of the list is the Toyotas, Hondas, Lexuses, and stuff like that. So you're going to want to start with a good brand and go from there. I'm very guilty of buying all BMWs and buying the N54 before the E30, and it was down for 2 out of the 3 years that I owned it. So the cars are just not meant to, handle power and not be a good daily. Now, depending on how much you drive, you're going to want to check your fluids either weekly or monthly, and so go through, check the oil from the dipstick, check the coolant levels, you can check the brake reservoir levels, and just make sure all of your fluids are topped off from your power steering, all of the fluids. If I'm driving extra in a certain month, I'll check it more often, but I like to check the vehicle levels about once every 2 weeks, just to make sure that everything is good. There's no, you're not driving on low oil, low coolant, something that could potentially harm the motor. And I'm making sure that all the parts are well lubricated and have the good liquids to actually perform correctly. I don't care how reliable the car is, if it's not running on the correct amount of oil, then it's not going to do you any good. And then you will be replacing the motor. It's one of the easiest things that you can do to help maintain the car is just regular oil changes and checking on the actual level. Some car brands and some engines eat up more oil than you would expect. I know that Aubrey's Subaru is quite bad at just consuming oil. And so we have to fill it rather often, more often than, say, the Honda. Tip number 3, the reason why I'm actually making this video is to do preventative maintenance. Okay, so preventative maintenance is going to be a fine line of replacing parts before they go bad, but not just throwing parts at the vehicle. For example, when I drove this car from Colorado to Austin, I wanted to make sure that it had a new clutch in it while I had a garage in Colorado. So I didn't know when the last time the clutch was replaced, so I decided that it would be worth it to just get a new clutch and repair the clutch before it went bad and before I was stranded without a clutch. I just wanted to replace it, get it out of the way. That would be a great option of preventative maintenance. Before the clutch goes bad, I'm going to replace it. That way I can plan for it and not be stuck. Another great option is going to be the battery, and that's what I'm replacing today, because if you see here, the battery is from 2016. So the battery is 7 years old, and normally batteries last between like 3 and 4 years. So the fact that this battery is 7 years old, it means that it got its good use. It hasn't gone bad, but I don't want to be stuck without a battery. With the battery being so old, the potential of it going bad increases tenfold. So rather than waiting for the day that the car doesn't start in the middle of a parking lot, I'm going to replace it to keep it more reliable. So that's what we will be doing today at the end of my 5 tips. So that was tip number 3. Tip number 4 is going to be about when parts actually go bad. I want you to replace the system, or at least think about replacing the system. Most often, car manufactured parts are going to go out in a similar time frame. I'll give you an example of this. So about 2 weeks ago, I got in my car and I pushed down the clutch pedal, and the clutch pedal didn't engage, right? It was very soft and sloppy, and the car didn't want to go into gear. So after doing a little bit of looking in the actual car, I found out that the master cylinder went bad. Now when I went to go replace the master cylinder, I wanted to also replace the slave cylinder that goes into the transmission. So replacing both of those parts rather than waiting for the other one to fail, and replacing one part and then having the slave cylinder, say, go out in another week or 2 or however long. Replace both parts, that way you can have the entire system being brand new. Another example would be, say, a leaking coolant hose. If one of the coolant hoses is leaking, that means that all of them have deteriorated over the time, and you should replace all of them while you're doing the job. That way you don't have to wait for the other ones to go bad and then replace coolant and keep doing the process over and over. So replace systems when you can, and replace the entire system. Tip number 5, and the last one, is going to be treating the car with respect. There is a lot of cars that just are fully disrespected. Now, while this is a box, it still gets me from point A to point B. Now, I beat on it a little bit more than I probably should, but I treat the car with respect, and I know its limits. This car can do 100 miles an hour, but it doesn't mean that I'm going to do 100 miles an hour. I see all the time people start up their cars and just rip it all the time, and before on cold oil and before the car warms up and before it's ready to actually be driven, they start it, beat on it, and just don't care. And it's fine because the car is cheaper, but the longevity is really going to show in, say, 6 months from now or a year from now when the car is unreliable. If you are able to treat a car with respect and respect what it is and what it does for you, then the car will last a long time. Like I said, the car has rust on it. It's not going to be a forever car. You can see down here it's already rusting out on the door. And it is what it is, I'm not expecting it to last another 25 years, though it may. It doesn't have the absolute cleanest engine bay, but it does the job of what it's meant to do. Now this car is 25 years old and it still runs perfectly. I would say that it's more reliable than half of the new cars on the road. And that's why I love it so much. The car really has only let me down like 2 times in the entire ownership, and that's been in 3 years, and I haven't done much to the car besides regular oil changes. Obviously I will be doing an upgrade when the time is right, and I will be upgrading the car, but something like this is a great car to start with and to keep reliable and to own as your first car. So hopefully this helped you guys out. Maybe it helps you think about maintaining and keeping your box reliable. Let's talk about our other box, and that is the E30. It's gonna be nice, I promise. So a lot of you suggested in the last video that I create a list of what I need to get the car running, and that's what I did. I created a list to get the car running and to get the car driving, which are 2 very different things that I feel like are often switched up. So as the car stands right now, to get it running, we are gonna need AN fuel lines to hook up to the fuel rail. We're gonna need a fuel pressure regulator, which hooks up down there from the fuel pressure regulator back to the tank. So third, we are gonna need headers to figure out the exhaust portion. And then next we are gonna need the Club Sport wiring harness. That's going to link the E30 actual gauges to the chassis and the engine to the chassis. So that's going to integrate everything. That's going to be the full wiring harness for the engine and the chassis wiring harness that plugs in. Next, we are going to need the Link ECU to actually control the engine. So that's self-explanatory. Next, we will need a VTEC solenoid. That thing bolts up right here, and for some reason it just didn't come with the engine, so I need to find a VTEC solenoid. I'm probably going to order it from Honda. Next, oil. Very, very important, obviously. Then coolant. And then the last upgrade is going to be the 255 fuel pump, which goes in the tank under the back seat. So that's just to get this bad boy running, and then to get it driving, like I said, 2 very different stories. My goal currently is to get it running first, then focus on getting it driving. To get it driving, we need a drive shaft, which we have. Next, we need drive shaft bolts. We need new ones because the old drive shaft didn't come with the bolts, and I want to replace them with OEM factory bolts. We will need a center support bearing, and then a slave cylinder. Currently we do not have that. A spall fan, and then we need to figure out power steering, if we are going to be deleting it or if we're going to go with the electric power steering pump. Let me know what you guys think I should do, if I should just get a power steering delete kit, or if I should try to focus on getting the Volvo power steering pump wired in and get that actually running. That will be a full other kind of project and another system to focus on. So obviously the easy one is just deleting it, but in the future I would like to get power steering. So let me know if you guys think I should just push that off for right now and focus on it later, or if I should just get it running first. So that is it. That's all we need to get it running and driving. Obviously things are going to come up a little bit more and other stuff, but that is going to be the main list that we will be working on and crossing off. A couple of those parts are very expensive, so we will be waiting on funds to get those happening, but we are going to be trucking through this build and hopefully getting it started in the next 2 months, I'm guessing. Maybe month, we'll see. Obviously I don't want to rush the build just to get it finished. I want to do it properly, but to do it properly we have to have the funds. So we will be working on that in the background and keep working on the E30. Okay, so we went to the store, got a new battery, but before we do that, I want to show you guys something. So we got a throttle body all on, okay, and then we're gonna set you guys right there. Okay, don't move. Watch this. Isn't that sick? We got the throttle body all hooked up, so I need to order new head studs, head bolts for the intake manifold, and then we'll slap that puppy on. But let's get to changing this battery. So you always want to undo the negative terminal first. You can see that there's a bit of corrosion on there too. We're gonna clean that up as much as possible. Nice. And now we can do the positive. Oh, that's tidy. Geez, Ryan, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey. Nice. Okay, now the new battery is in, so we can pull off the positive. We're gonna clean up this terminal and just make sure that there's a good connection on that. And then we'll throw the power side on and then the ground side. That's all we need. We'll clean it. Just a tiny bit of cleanup and then we will be good. Nice. And just like that, the car feels so much more reliable now. Let's check it out, see if it starts. Ah, yeah, easy peasy. But that is gonna end it for today's video. Guys, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really does help out the channel. We are growing at a crazy rate. I'm so happy and thankful for you guys. And until next time, my name is Ryan. This is Project Race Car. Have an amazing day. Peace.